Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. My name is Chris Salem, your host. Hope you found us here at the TALRadio platform. We hope everyone is having a great week. And again, we are committed each and every week in bringing subject matter experts in to share their words of wisdom and insights to help raise your level of influence to the next level. We hope everyone is having a great week, and we encourage you, if there's any content that has not been shared here on the show that you feel would be fitting for you, feel free to run that by us by reaching out to Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. That's Chris at ChristopherSalem.com. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to rekindle old relationships. Now, this is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media, where you get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. It also offers a wide array of different services not available to the general public. And if you'd like some more information on Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we have a wonderful show planned for you today. We're going to be talking about an interesting topic, the cost of handholding, how over-supportive leadership hinders employee growth. And I can know this firsthand, being someone who speaks on a regular basis in this particular area about leadership, and how true. And I cannot wait to hear our guest today sharing her insights and her experience in helping organizations in this particular area. We're going to be talking with Arrezo Azim, and she is a positive psychology coach who empowers high-achieving individuals to elevate their personal and professional lives by enhancing emotional intelligence, navigating complex dynamics, and fostering collaboration and innovation. With expertise in building confidence, prioritizing well-being, and preventing burnout, Arrezo guides leaders to inspire their teams and create lasting fulfillment. And without further ado, we welcome Arrezo Azim to the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me, Chris.
It is such a pleasure. And I love this topic. I think this is so important, and, about hand-holding. And if you could share with us, if we're looking at different organizations, regardless of size around the world, there's probably a lot of hand holding going on, whether if we want to admit it or not, or whether if we even know it or not. And what would be some of the evidence, Rezo, that leaders now can start to recognize that, where maybe if they don't know their hand holding, what it's now costing them and what's holding them back?
So good question. There was I would say it impacts micromanaging on employees' retention. And there's actually a study that came out, the Gallup study, that had mentioned that 50% of employees who leave due to escaping a manager who's micromanaging or kind of controlling their day-to-day tasks. And 50% is a pretty big number for people to be leaving due to this. And, while managers are constantly hand-holding, it's affecting the employees to use their confidence and their skills and their strengths to figure out and navigate the problems that are coming up. And I would say, aside from that, it also impacts their confidence when it comes to being able to deliver a product or being able to show up for their employees or even their clients. Because in a lot of ways, they're thinking, okay, my manager typically does the tasks for me. And now if I don't do it this cookie cutter, step-by-step way that they're giving to me, they freeze. According to Business of Harvard, or Harvard Business Review, they said that companies who trust their employees report 75% less stress when it comes to their day-to-day tasks and showing up for their company. So there's that as well. Yeah.
Wow. And like you said, when this all starts to compound over time, it really begins to get costly. And like you said, people don't usually just leave jobs that's up, they leave the people they're working for, and so on. No, I love it. What would be some of the things that, being someone that specializes in this area, especially with, the psychology angle that you have and being, trained in that area, what do you feel like are some of the first steps that leaders could take to recognize this, be aware, and now what they can do to start reversing this?
Well, I kind of wanted to start with a story of mine. I had a client.
Oh, please do.
Okay, yeah. So I had a client of mine. They were a manager. They were a general manager for the marketing associates that they have at their team. And every time their team had conflicts with a project or a client, they would always go, and I'm going to use Jamie. We'll just put their name as Jamie. Jamie would just do the big tasks for them and kind of get the project done and figure everything out and kind of, in a sense, handhold them through each of the projects. And over time, you give it a few months, and it just became something that they expected. We turn to Jamie. Jamie will do the thing that I don't know how to do, and then I'm just going to kind of get the easy stuff done. And this became an expectation for everyone in Jamie's team. And this is where they kind of led to burnout for her as a leader, where she wasn't really getting her tasks done. She was getting everyone else's tasks done. And over time, there was a huge dependency and stagnancy on the team as well. They personally couldn't do the tasks unless Jamie was there to get it done for them. So that I think is a huge conflict that is showing up is without even realizing it. There are managers who they know the job, they know how to get it done, they want to help, and they obviously don't want their team to fail. So it's this, okay, we have a problem. I know what to do. I'm going to jump in and get it done because, I want us to all succeed. That kind of comes up.
Yeah. Wow. So true. So true. I love that way here. And when you talk about like, when this concept of hand holding and how it's stalling employee growth and, and again, micromanaging, because a lot of times there could be a lot of things going on there. There could be a hard time. People have a hard time delegating. So they fear that people can't do it to the level they do. So they don't trust somebody doing it. So they overlook their shoulder more than they should. How important is communication in this process? When I say communication, not just any communication, but how effective communication is important in this process.
Well, I think it also comes down to, like you had said, a lot of managers have this big picture of we have this goal, we need to, hit numbers. It's coming to the end of our cycle here. And it's a lot of based off of what they
Yeah.
think is important, opposed to kind of looking at each of their employees or their team members as individuals that come in with different skill sets. So, as a positive psychology coach, the biggest thing that I like to focus on with my clients is noticing their strengths as an individual. And
Mm.
everyone comes in with different strengths. And when you're communicating with one team member a certain way, another team member might not take it that same way or might not be able to look at that as I'm excited to do this project. They might look at that as, okay, now I'm worried I have to do it this way. So I think it's being able to understand that all of your employees have different ways of learning, different ways of interpreting the communication that kind of comes in, and being able to actually learn about each of those people differently helps you to show up as a more authentic version when you're speaking to them, opposed to looking at all of your employees as you're just another number. I'm going to give you the script and, do it the same exact way.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, just again, they feel related to, they feel understood. They feel, I guess, in a way, not in an enabling way, like that would be the hand-holding way, pleasing and enabling, but they feel psychologically safe from a place of empathy and kindness, even if that means nudging them out of the nest, but knowing that they still have support, that, there's resources, there's somebody there to answer questions, but not to enable them, but to empower them.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful stuff. And again, going back to like, what would you recommend, organizations that have to kind of like where this might be causing problems, bottlenecks, it's causing dysfunction. Maybe again, people are going through the motions. Maybe people are leaving. The retention is really low. What would you recommend, those first steps?
I think some of the first steps would be using more open-ended questions.
Mm.
And I kind of have an example. So I'm just going to say two questions, and I want you to just think about them and kind of tell me what your brain is picking up when I say the two questions. So the first one is do you have any questions about what we're talking about?
Mm.
Question number two, what questions do you have about what we're talking about?
Mm. I know with that what question, if I'm like a type A personality or I'm a results oriented person, a lot of people that are results oriented, especially task oriented people, identify with what questions.
Mm-hmm.
By asking me now, I'm asking myself, if I now ask, a question for further clarification, could that help me get to my results quicker?
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you think of the first question of, do you have any questions about what we're talking about? It assumes that the person may not have any questions.
Hmm.
It's whereas the second one is, what questions do you have? Where it's
Yeah,
now,
you empowered me. You empowered me to kind of think now, to just instead of going through, yeah, I'm just going to go with the flow. Now I got to come up and, well, okay, I feel included. I feel like maybe if I ask something, maybe that will help me in what I got to do here. And if I have more clarification, maybe that'll help me.
yeah. And I think the thing that you just said that stuck out was it kind of makes you think a little deeper of what questions might be coming up for me, opposed to that close-ended, what questions do you have? Do you have any questions? It makes people
Yeah.
feel like, no, I don't have any questions. And that's sometimes what happens with a lot of team members is when their manager comes in, do you have any questions? It feels very closed off. It
Yeah,
feels
it
very,
feels like no, because it's like a very defensive. No, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to open up a can of worms.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think open-ended questions would be, top, and then also exploring solutions and ideas, opposed to giving, your team members that, like I said earlier, the step-by-step, do it this way, get it done this way, and kind of telling them what to do. Instead of it being like this, I'm going to tell you what to do. If it's more open-ended, allowing them to explore what they think some
Yeah.
solutions would be really helpful.
So what I got from you there when I hear that, it's okay, you're not telling people what to do. You're sharing, but you're empowering them through the question now to answer, to get them to think about that. Now they got to answer it. And now you're empowering me that I have some kind of control over what's there. Now you could pick up and say, well, maybe they don't know enough like they think they do. And now I got to interject and ask a question so I can maybe provide more clarity. So now we can narrow that room for any assumptions and
And I think
speculation.
a good question for that would be, what solutions have you considered so far? And
Yes.
what do you think might work best?
Yeah.
That kind of allows them to explore those ideas of like, what have you tried? And what do you think are some solutions that would help? Opposed to it being, I don't know. Let me
And
give it
then
to
probably what I'm gathering, what you're saying is that especially when things fall through the cracks or we just assume people know what they're doing in their role. And when a lot of times they don't, and they go through the motions because they don't want to expose that. And then as the leader, we get upset. But now if you ask me questions and get me included, I feel like I can maybe open up and let you know that, hey, I know you all along, you've been thinking I know everything about what I'm doing here, and I don't. Please don't hold that against me, but can you steer me in the right direction where I can now learn this? I just felt like you were going to think I was incompetent or worst case, fire me because I didn't know this.
Yeah, and I think it can come down to the fear, and maybe and I don't know if this is true for everyone, but with the job with the job market and everyone kind of being this fast pace, people are losing jobs, gaining jobs, companies are letting people go. I think a lot of people are in this fear mentality of just say you know what you're doing and kind of keep the peace, but that in itself, there's a disconnect between leaders and employees, where employees feel worried to speak up and managers are sort of kind of directing, and there's loss in translation.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's so good. And what you could do is, I guess, if you normally when you want to be direct and tell somebody, you could still disguise that impact in the question. And now you're just empowering them to answer it, and you're still subconsciously planting that seed about what you wanted to say anyway, except you're not doing it in a direct statement, putting them on the defense like this. Now I feel comfortable. I feel like I can express if where I'm at right now, not fear you're going to think I'm stupid or incompetent.
I think a way that leaders could really do that in a sense of like telling their employees without directly telling them is to also just give stories. I think sometimes like hearing an example of a way that you've done it in the past or someone else has done it, and then ask that employee how that resonates, that kind of gets them to the conclusion that you were trying to say by giving them a story from how it's been handled in the past.
No, so true. So true. Oh, wow. Powerful stuff. I love this. And this is such a great topic that we're covering that you came up with here. And when you talk about the buy-in, with this, Areza, when you talk about like this, is this something that has to be consistent and dripped over time? Because it's the reality. Let's say you have 10 people. I always like to equate things to baseball because I'm a big baseball fan. We're never going to bat 1,000, right? But if we were batting 200 and now we're batting 400, well, we're making progress. And I guess, if we're measuring this and seeing where it's having an impact where the percentage is going up, yes, we're not going to, it may not, we might not get through to everybody, but if we get through to at least few, and now we're raising the bar, at least we're heading in the right direction.
Right. I also kind of look at it as you're not going to wake up tomorrow, maybe after hearing this podcast or watching a YouTube video, or you're not going to get it and grasp it and show up that exact way. It's going to
Yeah.
take some practice. It's going to take some time. And honestly, it's trial and error. I think with anything, if you can look at it as I had a great conversation with an employee today and I guided them opposed to telling them exactly what to do, that's a win in your book. And just kind of take your wins as I'm trying and I'm getting better from yesterday. I think if you can kind of look at it as not every single person that walks into my office today is going to get that version, but if I can kind of take increments of I did one today and I guided instead of, directed, that is a plus in our book. I also think it's really important to do check-ins. So with that client of mine, Jamie, going back to that story, Jamie realized after our sessions that I am burnt out and I am doing all the work for my staff here. Jamie started to do weekly check-ins with the members of her team and to kind of just check in what are some of the challenges that they're working on and what do they think they need from Jamie opposed to Jamie just doing everything for them.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was powerful as the check-ins.
Exactly. So, just to kind of like, as we look at this, how important is it? I mean, yes, we can't control other people. We can't control situations overall, but I guess it has to start with you, the leader, to do this for yourself and that type of thing. So, but again, wouldn't it be great if we had the entire company on board with that philosophy?
Oh my gosh. That's the goal.
Yes.
One question that I think is really just playful too that leaders could use is if there's no limitations, how would you approach this problem? I
Yep.
truly love this question because it really makes them think if there were no limitations on the situation, how would you approach how you would handle this? And if you take anything from this video or anything from me, I would advise people to try that question and see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, really, really good stuff here. I love it. So, getting here, like when we look at this here, what do you feel like, with the companies that begin to invest more time into, maybe again, first listening to a podcast, listening to you on this podcast, and then, then it becomes maybe a mini workshop but then it becomes something they can start to drip over time where people can begin to get it. How important that is going to change the culture of their organization and hopefully bring more unity and get more output from somebody or people in general, again, more than just one person.
I guess like I said with everything, it's going to be something that as a leader, like you had mentioned, acknowledging it and noticing that, hey, I think I'm kind of hand holding and I think I'm kind of walking my employees through everything opposed to letting them do it on their own. I think it's something that first you acknowledge it and then taking steps daily to say, what can I do differently than old me? Listening to podcasts, checking in with yourself. And I think daily check-ins, even with yourself at the end, to be like, how did I show up today, would be valuable. So it's subconsciously in the back of your mind, and also showing up for workshops, podcasts, anything where the leader is actually actively keeping it in the back of their mind, I would say is valuable. But we are a habit creature. We always kind of go back to our old ways at the end of the day of how we handle things. And I think it's valuable to just have maybe even like something written on your phone or in your office that reminds you, if I want to be a leader, I can't, hold their hand and do everything for them. So the best advice that I would say is to kind of keep this something that's in your back of your mind, something that you're checking in with yourself, and maybe even having someone that can hold you accountable, whether
Yeah.
that's a partner, someone at the company that can kind of check in with you and say, how is that going? So that you have someone that's going to be saying, putting you in check in a sense to see how you're showing up for your team.
No, I love it. I love it. So instead of like what you're saying, I always love the concept of a huddle, like where if you have a daily huddle, either in the morning for 10, 15 minutes, maybe a debriefing at the end of the day to see what's working, what's not. It's not like micromanage. It's like everybody being accountable, what they had to do in their role and duties, and then how that comes together to complement one another. And like you said, it often might help in how could I say it, empowering more autonomy into each individual. So like they feel like you're not always constantly stepping in and just picking up the pieces when people drop the ball, and then they're just going to expect that and become stagnant and complacent anyway.
Yeah, I actually to go off of that, I think it would be really valuable for the team to have those debriefing moments where everyone can kind of speak up and have a moment where, like you said, the autonomy, but also to feel like they're a part of a team
Yeah.
and not just I like feel like they have people that they can turn to and that they're working together. And I think that's really what a team needs is to feel like they're a part of something and that their work matters. So when you're having those team meetings, that helps everyone to speak up, have a say, and to feel like what they're doing is actually being seen and is important.
Yeah, so true. So true. Wow, just really powerful stuff that you are sharing here. And then anything else, Arezzo, that you would like to share that you haven't covered when it comes to this topic as we get near the end of the show? Anything else that you want to add or wrap up that can really bring this full circle for those leaders listening now and that will be listening later?
Um, I guess something that didn't mention is I want leaders to also know that I understand how difficult it can be to be a leader. You have a lot of pressure on you. And I think that that's something that maybe I forgot to discuss is you're doing a good job. You're doing the best that you absolutely can to show up for your team. And there obviously we all can improve and do better. But as long as you're able to look at what you're doing as I want to grow and I want to change and I don't want to stay stuck in my own ways, then I think they're gonna do amazing. But it really just takes you having to look at how you're doing it and say that there are better ways of handling these situations, and I don't necessarily have to be stuck in my old ways. Um, and also, I think the biggest one is look at your team and your employees as individual people and really take time to learn about them and to show up for them outside of just the tasks that they have to get done. Make them feel like genuine people that you care about, whether that's getting coffee with them for 5 minutes, in the hallway or speaking to them about how they're doing, for them to feel like it's a little bit more than just my manager caring about me having to finish this project by the end of the weekend and that they are being seen. So I think if anything, people want to feel connected, they want to feel a part of something. And as a manager, you have the ability to motivate them by just showing them that I see you. So that's
Wow. Just powerful stuff. I love what you shared. And I know we're at the end of the show here. And I know definitely, I would love to talk further with you on this topic because it's so important. Love to have you come back for a future show for either part two or something that will expand beyond what you shared into this particular important area for organizations. I personally want me and from TALRadio want to thank you for being here with us today to share your wisdom on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to future podcasts.
Absolutely. And now we like to leave it up to you for the next minute or so. If you like to let the audience know, how can they get in contact with you? What are you up to and anything you would like to share with them?
Yeah, so you can get in contact with me through LinkedIn. I will give Chris my information, or you can even just email me and just send me a message if you have any questions or anything comes up for you. We can have a discovery call and just kind of figure all those things out. What I'm currently working on right now is I'm working with a few small boutique companies in the Silicon Valley is where I'm located. And I'm necessarily just helping them navigate burnout, especially with all the job layoffs that are happening right now in the Silicon Valley and everything that's happening. There's a lot of burnout. So my project right now for the next few months is helping a few of my clients kind of navigate that, especially the leaders, And yeah, and I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you're working on, and if there's anything that I can do as a positive psychology coach to show up for you, I'm always available.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate you being here. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed to your success and raising your influence to the next level. And we are committed to bringing subject matter experts like Arrezo in to share their words of insight to help you in that area. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.